Today we have Rick Pensa from CPGToolBox with us. Welcome, Rick.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's good to have you here today. So tell me a little bit, when a supplier spends trade dollars with Walmart, they have to plan for it differently than they would with other retailers.
Right.
Tell me about how they do it with other retailers.
Yeah, so other retailers probably are mostly high-low, or there's some variation of an EDLP or EDLC concept. Of course, Walmart is purely EDLC.
And they've made that very clear, haven't they?
Oh, yes, absolutely. But other manufacturers in general will put together an accrual fund. So these accrual funds might be 18%, 20%, 25%, whatever it might be, which are funds that accrue across every shipment that comes into the or goes through the order entry system.
Funds for TPRs, temporary price reductions. They might be for ads within those retailers. They could be for coupons. A number of different ways in which they promote their products. End caps and displays. Maybe they pay for those.
Right, and pretty much anything that's a spending opportunity. So it could be some sort of retail execution. It could be, as you said, feature, display, or TPRs, temporary price reductions. So those are the funds that are then spent against those events, and those events have to be basically planned out. So, for example, if you manage a typical high-low account, you're going to have an objective that's probably going to be about 30 or 40% above what the base volume is.
Right.
So the objective is to take the funds that are associated with that account and then drive it to your...
And try to get the numbers that you want to get to it. Okay.
That way you keep your job and you make your number and you make your bonus.
Exactly. So suppliers that do this right now, typically are putting it on an Excel spreadsheet of some sort or another and trying to figure all these things out. What type of solution does CPG have?
Well, that's an interesting factoid. Do you know that 75% of CPG manufacturers track their trade spending on a spreadsheet? And more than that, the average CPG company spends between 15 and 25% of their total gross revenue on trade spending. And so you're tracking billions of dollars across the industry. 75% of it's tracked in a spreadsheet. Our tool gives you the ability to track in an easy manner. It's built on the Salesforce.com platform, so it's built on Salesforce, meaning it's for Salesforce. And we are out of the CPG industry, so we understand the industry. I myself have been in the industry over 40 years. So we know this industry, and we've taken a platform that's very ubiquitous. It's a cloud-based tool, Salesforce is. And so we've built our tool on that cloud-based platform that tracks your trade spending, your trade funding rather, and your trade spending against promotions, which also drives forecasting, and then we track the settlements or deductions on the back end.
So Walmart's different, right? Walmart, EDLP, EDLC, that goes down that whole path.
Right. So Walmart likes an EDLC strategy. They essentially tell the manufacturer, give me all of your funds, and I'll take that money, drive it into the price, and take your sales across the nation at the lowest price out there.
And why is that different?
Well, they're essentially, there may be three types of retailers. There'll be your traditional EDLP, EDLC, just like Walmart, and there are a number of imitators of Walmart's strategy. And then there'll be a high-low, and high-low means that they'll sell the retail price every day a little higher, and they'll pulse it down low for trade promotion activity, so a feature, a display, or a rollback on the shelf. And then there are some hybrids that will look like an EDLC company, but they'll also pulse down and promote at a lower price as well.
Okay, so Walmart does this. They have the suppliers do that, but every once in a while they need infusions, right? I mean, because sometimes, a couple different things can happen. One, commodity prices can go down, so manufacturers get more money to spend on certain things. I mean, there's a lot of different reasons that they do that. Other sales might be going down, right? So they have to go do something to do that. So there are still money spent.
Correct.
With it, and they still need to track that.
Absolutely, and the reasoning for having trade infusions and spiking or basically dropping the price for a small period of time is that you may have a low penetration rate. So, for example, there may be only 15% of the consumers who come into a retail store who are buying that product, and so just dropping the price may not necessarily expand the distribution of that product in the consumer base. And so by having a lower price for a relatively limited time, you could have a display and you could, or have a rollback on the shelf, and that might attract the consumer to pick your product up where they might not otherwise.
And this still goes back to trade funding. I mean, they only have so much money they can spend, right? There's a certain percentage. Each company has it for each brand and for different things. Companies I've worked for have always done that in the past. And they have to have a way to track this and to monitor it. And CPG Toolbox has a solution for that?
Absolutely. So within our solution, you can track your accrual funds, so the money that you have to spend at the account, and then you can track how you're spending those money. So you're planning promotions, you're setting up events, and think about you're doing this on a Gantt chart. So you're looking at the ability to move events back and forth, slide, stretch, and you're funding those events. And when you're funding those events, you're also funding or developing a forecast, because your forecast is a component of base volume plus any kind of incremental spikes that might happen because of those promotional activities.
Well, Rick, thank you for sharing your story about CPG Toolbox and the tool that you have. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Focus on Suppliers. We'll be right back.